I want to start here on YouTube with the serious and societal stuff, Stugotz, that many people object to. And during a pandemic, you guys have gotten plenty tired of the sermonizing, and that everywhere you turn outside of sports, there is some sort of racial or political conversation going on, and you want your sports to remain your sports. And much of what's happened to us professionally over the last 18 months, more than that, really, because I was having my tensions on the China stuff while I was there. But much of what's been happening over the last, 24 months has been this war between, can we keep this out of the playpen, please? Can we not have it here? Can we have the giggles and the fun? And every once in a while, some stories make an appearance and come and visit us in sports, and they jostle everyone's attention, and sports has to be the place, the mirror, where some of these societies go to check their reflection. We are about to head to Beijing and have some Olympics here in not that many days, and China doesn't care about your human rights. And China is in business with a whole lot of people in America that turn almost everything in business to a conflict. We just got done talking in the local hour of, do you sell your soul and your principles for Lane Kiffin or for going all in on athletics at the University of Miami? And what is at the height of sports now with Enes Kanter and LeBron James going back and forth, because LeBron James is the height of sports, is the intersection of that conflict. LeBron James has not had a worse public moment than how he handled all the China stuff and how bought and paid for he sounded when he came out against Daryl Morey, because very clearly business interests had taken over. The NBA is deep with China. China does not tolerate LeBron saying whatever he thinks about everything. And when you see the fight between Enes Kanter and LeBron, it's an interesting one, because LeBron accuses Enes Kanter of using LeBron's name to keep his activism relevant. Duh. Yeah, because people aren't listening to the single best activist that there is in the NBA. So he is going deeper and deeper. Someone who knows what the definition of freedom is to him, because he had to flee to find it. He has to fight to keep it. You flee to find freedom. You fight to keep freedom. You do not take freedom for granted. LeBron James has been an exceptional humanitarian. I don't expect him to be right on all causes. I don't expect him to take up all causes. I'm not gasbag enough, even though I'm plenty gasbag, to tell him which are the causes that he should be taking up on my behalf. I will just tell you that Enes Kanter is fighting for freedom because he had to flee to fight it, to find it, and he had to fight to keep it. And now Enes Kanter goes after LeBron James and uses LeBron James's name because LeBron sat out China and human rights violations and then had a mealy-mouthed defense after getting himself a little informed defense of business and league as he took out Daryl Morey. And now you see, with the deep discomfort around this amazing and ridiculous story with the tennis player Peng Shuai, these details are appalling, and I believe that many people don't understand what it is, listening to this right now, what it is to have a lack of freedom. Like, really understand it, Stugotz, because everything that's coming out of China right now feels like it's got the film of state propaganda on it. That, is this real? Are we getting facts? You have, before the Olympics, demands for proof of life.
Right.
Prove to us that a tennis player who is accused a powerful Chinese official of sexual crimes, prove to us that she's still alive. And then the first drizzles that you get publicly on this, Stugotz, the first drizzles you get seem like, wait a minute, that doesn't seem like that's today. Is that real? Is that poorly photoshopped? Like, what are they doing here with what is the government is trying to pass this off as news. And this is just the government that doesn't need to abide by your wishes because you're not in charge there. Freedom's not in charge there. And so when Enes Kanter fights for these things on CNN or on his sneakers, I've wanted to talk about this for now. We're coming up on years. And I wanted to get Enes Kanter on here to talk about it because I wanted to have a longer form conversation with him about what he's doing before talking about this stuff. But I don't think the people listening here just understand, Stugotz, how deeply embedded we are across all our American affiliations with Chinese businesses that make it impossible to take these moral stands because they'll pull your movies out of there. The state government does not care about your freedoms. And in this case, had trouble proving life to us as a bunch of people, Naomi Osaka included, are like, where is this person? She has made this accusation and she's disappeared. Where's the proof of life? Like, if you don't want your serious stuff with sports, Stugotz, and I get it's a world away. Like, I think a lot of this fighting for equality, fighting for all humans, okay? Because LeBron James, by sitting this out, is not fighting for equality for all humans. He's sitting this out. He took the wrong side at the beginning of this. But this is what it's like to fight for all humans, where you're holding a government that does not believe in freedom, does not care about your freedoms, to prove this life to us, because you had the WTA wasn't going to be able to play in Beijing. And I don't know, you guys tell me, this latest appearance, is it real? Like, can it be proven? Because what the government of China has been releasing at every turn, people are like still skeptical. Hey, this isn't today. This isn't now. This isn't proof of life.
Yeah, let's get off the LeBron thing a little bit, because I think you're kind of doing some of the same thing. This is a Peng Shuai story, and she accused someone that is akin to a former vice president of coercing her into sex. And then she went missing for a long time. And even Novak Djokovic, who has been kind of certainly not someone that gets involved politically or controversially in these things, was calling for proof that she was still out there. And then members of the Chinese government started releasing photos on the Chinese social media platform that made everybody somehow even more uncomfortable. It was her in a room with stuffed animals, and there was a cat and a smile that was just awkward, and say, hey, look, she's okay, and right, she will be making a public appearance in a few days. But this is all coming from the Chinese government, and this is their attempt to kind of smooth things over, and it just made everybody more concerned.
It's hard for people to understand. It's hard for people to relate. It's hard for people to believe that something like this would happen. But, Mike, wasn't there a video call? Wasn't there a video call with the tennis player and the head of the Olympic Committee? So
yes. Thomas Bach, who's the head of the IOC, they had a call because they have to address concerns ahead of January's Olympics. The other aspect of this is that a lot of these messages are being put out by members of the Chinese State Party on Twitter, which is a platform that is banned in China. So this is for us. This is not for them. And
well, they also, and some of this stuff, it feels hostage video-y. Like, we want, it's not just proof of life that we want proof, is she free? But this is what happens when the attention leaves, then you're just left with what government does. And when a government doesn't feel like it has to answer to people or its people, what a government can do is trample a whole lot of human rights.
We want proof that she's okay, right? I mean, and free, but we want proof that she's okay. I mean, no one knows.
And it's kind of crazy how the machine works. I'm reading a CNN story about this, and it said the Chinese State Party, focused on her smiles and apparent good spirits. Quote, "Can any girl fake such sunny smile under pressure?" said the editor-in-chief of state-run tabloid The Global Times. It's incredible how they just get the machine going, and it's from a bunch of different sources, but it's all from the government. And they're all trying to paint this rosy picture instead of actually have her come out in some public forum or in a non-government controlled platform.
It's not actually that hard, right? Think about this, and think about how much control you have over the lack of freedom in your people. if another government and a bunch of institutions are calling for proof of life, it's really easy to give someone proof of life. This was going on for days, Stugotz, where people are weeks really, because Osaka was a while ago. Is she okay? Is she alive? You can answer that question in minutes. It took weeks. And the reason I bring up the Enes Kanter LeBron thing, Mike, is because Enes Kanter before this, in fighting for Tibet, fighting for the idea of Taiwan remaining free, like he is fighting for government not being able to behave this way. He is fighting for it, at least in part, because he came here to get it. He doesn't want to lose it here. But we're really entangled with the Chinese across business interests, and it requires a whole swallowing of moralities along a whole number of planes because of the sheer amount of tentacles that their economy has entangled with our economy and the way our country makes money a god.
Enes Kanter also discusses the genocide of Muslim people in China, and he's called out Muslim athletes for not doing more in that regard too. It's kind of ridiculous to me that all of this is out there. I understand why Peng Shuai and her situation forces a video call, and the president of the IOC has to consider all of this is ways to decide if he moves forward with the Olympics in China when there is possible genocide going on in the country. That should give you pause too. Peng Shuai also should give you pause. But we're talking about all these things, and it's just you cannot operate in a capitalist environment. You cannot run a Fortune 500 business. You cannot run a professional sports league that wants to grow without having a presence in China. It is just a current state of affairs right now. They are so powerful.
But this is sports just allowing us to see the sliver of light at the bottom of a totally locked door. You are getting just one little tiny peep. Weeks it takes for information to get out. You do not trust the information, and you're wondering to yourself again, Stugotz, what a horrifying phrase. Proof of life.
Yeah.
Prove to us that you did not kill this woman for accusing a powerful 76-year-old executive person of a sexual crime. Prove to us that the result wasn't the victim becoming yet more of a victim, and it takes weeks for that explanation to come. And this is when the world's light is on you. The world's light is on you as the Olympics are going. And this is how you behave. And there are reasons, real reasons, to fear for this woman's life and safety beyond now, depending on what you're willing to tolerate from that country because of our business interests.
So it's proof of life, which you're right, Dan, should be easy to prove. But once you've proven, okay, she's alive, then it's proof of, is she okay? Is she happy? Is she gonna be okay?
But that locked door that I'm talking about, you're seeing a sliver of light at the bottom of the door. That locked door stays locked after this with all of these business interests, and that light goes away.
Yeah.
That little tiny sliver of light will go away, but you just got a glimpse of what it is that Enes Kanter's shouting at you about on CNN. And Enes Kanter doesn't want it. Enes Kanter does not want to be doing this with LeBron James. It is a losing fight to go to work in the workplace of your God. LeBron James is the God of that world, even though no one fears him anymore. He's been across 20 years running that sport, and before you're playing them, you're using his name because of how important you think this is, and you don't want to walk into him in a hallway because LeBron's saying he could talk about this with me man to man. No, LeBron, he can't, because you're not going to do something different publicly. You already did it. You closed your mouth. You ran, and I understand it. Like, I get it. You have to protect a whole lot of things there. It's not just your basketball business, it's your sneaker business. And there's all sorts of injustice tied up in all of that stuff. But Enes Kanter is absolutely using your name so that people will look at all of this. It has value to him, but that's not something he wants to be doing. That's deeply uncomfortable, that kind of conflict.
It's also not just business. There's fear when going out in public and talking about China. people are trying their best to still not say the quiet part out loud, which is, we want to know if she's okay, because what we know about this country suggests that it is entirely possible that she is not okay because she had the bravery to say that she was coerced into sex by a former vice president there. Speaking out for any gender in that country is not easy.
Speaking out, period. Speaking out is not easy.
Right.
Speaking out on behalf of anything.
Now, speaking out against the government and powerful entities there as a woman, obviously, it certainly doubles down the need for people to get in front of cameras with their platforms, such as Novak Djokovic and all of tennis, really, to come out and seriously inquire about if she's okay. But China's always been able to get away with stuff. They have, as Woody highlighted, Twitter's not legal in that country. They have their own. These photos showed up on their own state-run social media. China's always going to end up winning because ultimately China is a global superpower and other places simply cannot exist without Chinese dollars.
I wonder how many of the people listening to this, right? Because maybe if you grew up young in this country, these are some of the things that you don't think about them very much. But when I was in China, there was no internet access. There's no such thing. Your internet is not going to work in China. There's a control on your freedoms. There is and the ability to share information is one of those freedoms, and
which makes this story, Dan, it just makes it very hard to relate to if you grew up in the United States with freedom.
But it's why it's important, Stugotz, that the people listening to this relate to it. This is, again, another one of these screaming fights for equality that have been on our streets that are about race and gender and differences. Do you care about people? Do you care about human rights? Do you care about freedom or democracy? Do you care about capitalism above freedom? When I say Enes Kanter doesn't want to do that, he's choosing that fight because it is the noble fight. I'm not even sure it's a fight that he can win, but it's a fight that you accept even if you can't win it. And you bring the fight to LeBron and you bring the fight to your league and you continue to show everybody this because that's what he's fleeing. That man is running away from the Turkish government. That man has fear of the Turkish government and is in this country and is speaking the way that he is because he doesn't want someone who gets left behind, who doesn't have the freedom that he has arrived at, to not get that same equality, the same equality that this country promises on its shores, and as you see at every turn, betrays as well. But the utopian ideal of it is what Enes Kanter is fighting for.
But don't you think Enes Kanter knows he can't win that fight? He can't win it alone. He needs LeBron James. LeBron James helps him. I'm not saying LeBron wins that fight, but LeBron James helps if he's talking about these issues.
You cannot do this when the NBA is that deeply embedded in business. Whatever tone change there was in LeBron when he first addressed this, he could have sat this out from the beginning. He did not. He did not. He spoke to some people and then went after Daryl Morey. He protected business over free speech.
Right.
Like he told you it and then didn't speak about it again. And then spent the next couple of years hiding from it. And in this case, when it's presented to him, here's Enes Kanter bringing the fight to LeBron. LeBron, would you like to speak on this? Man, he could have talked to me in the hallway. LeBron, you could have talked to us if you really want to talk about this. You don't. You're hiding from it. I don't blame you. I absolutely do not blame you because Lord knows when I was having that fun at Disney where you can't point out that Disney has, theme parks in China. Like, Lord knows when I was having that fun, you've got to make some of those decisions about, well, do you want to protect your economy? Do you want to protect the people who rely on you? Or is this the hill you would like to die on? Do you want to be Ali? Do you want to be Ali for real? Like, do you want to fight for everybody's freedom?
I don't blame him, but you can criticize him for not being willing to do
But
it.
Stugotz, too, yes, you can criticize him for
Dan,
not
if he had
willing
to
to do
cross the
it.
line, this would be the place to cross the line.
Okay,
I mean,
and it would be best.
I'm not comfortable with any of this because
Right.
he speaks on things that he feels educated enough on and feels passionately about. People are okay to take on certain causes and not feel comfortable weighing in on other ones. This isn't a discussion. I know we're trying to make it one, but I am not looking at the Peng Shuai situation and being like, where are you, LeBron?
No, I'm talking about the dangers of China, Mike. I'm just talking
In
about
general,
I'm
yes.
talking about how these kinds of stories don't get covered correctly as we head to them because some of your media entities are also afraid of covering them correctly. It makes it very hard for the truth to get out. I believe me, the Kanter fight, we're not talking about with the Kanter and LeBron thing, just silly sports soap opera stuff and words, and we're not comparing it to what's happening with when you're talking about proof of life, that phrase, which I don't think I've ever had to use before on this program as it regards a tennis player. The reason I'm tying the two together is because the only way for pressure to be applied here in a way that makes the light come up a little bit the light under the door can't be when the media companies are also in bed with making sure that light doesn't get out. It's very hard to cover all of this stuff. It's why I wanted to wait to talk to Enes Kanter in a longer form place, because it's very hard to not have somebody come in with a whack-a-mole here and say, no, here's the one outlier where you got it wrong on one thing. I'm not expecting LeBron to take up all causes, but I'm also not expecting LeBron to give voice to the other side on this one, which is what he did with Daryl Morey before he learned the lesson and went straight into hiding. But no, he's in hiding. No, he doesn't want any part of this issue. He would like to not answer a question about the business interests in China of the NBA for the remainder of his life.
Yeah, and you're presently holding him to a higher standard than even the NBA, than even their media partners. I mean, we all know why LeBron can't. Nike funds his entire empire. Anytime he needs an investment in some of his side projects, Nike's part of the investors. It's like asking, where's Phil Knight in all of this? Where's Phil Knight's comments on Peng Shuai? We know he's implicated. Like, he can't.
But Mike,
because
we know
he's taking far too much money from that country. It's the business plan. He can't
But isn't that the problem, Mike? Like, the problem, Mike, is that like you can only speak out when it's economically convenient for you.
Right. And when he signed his first Nike contract, I don't think he was thinking about China's human rights record.
But we all know why he can't. It's a question of should he?
I mean, should he with that platform?
Because a lot of people feel like he should, Mike, because he is the most powerful athlete in sports.
I understand. But also I turn to you, Stugotz, and I say, would you give up 8/10 of your wealth and throw it all away?
Stugotz, you could have commented while we were at Disney on China. Would you have thrown away your job to do it? Like, you could have. You could have said whatever you wanted to.
Yeah, but my words don't resonate the way LeBron James' words.
It's an easy cop-out, but I'm saying you could have. Would you have risked your job over it? Like,
LeBron James weighing into this is not going to change anything. It's
That's
only
the other part.
It's only going to change his bottom line.
Well, that's the part of all of this that is so shocking, is that so many powerful entities. I think what Dan's kind of bigger structural point is this system of the Chinese government, of its propaganda, is so strong that even the most powerful entities in the world are powerless next to it. Right? LeBron cowers, the International Olympic Committee cowers, the NBA cowers, everyone cowers.
Because of the dollars. And to me...
Well, not just because of the dollars, but because it won't work. They have such a strong system of propaganda and of power that it won't work.
So it's what's the point?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I see people on Twitter, where are you on Peng Shuai? Where are these statements? We need action. Tweets sent by iPhone. That's the reality of the situation right now. Global economics. You cannot exist by shutting the door to China. You can take the opportunity to discuss things and say that's not right and suffer the financial consequences because they are vindictive, they are private.
And they can be both of those things, and they can hide it and shroud
have no consequences.
All of it in dollars. There are no consequences because they have all of the power. Honestly, I can imagine the meetings in governance on wait a minute. I got to explain. We got to explain to somebody that this woman's still alive. Why do I have to? Why do we have to explain that to anybody? We don't need to explain anything to anybody. We don't ever have to explain anything to anybody. What are you guys going to do about it? Buy more iPhones? Like, what are you going to do about it? What? Because I told you guys the story of being in China with Michael Jordan, and I'm in the interview for.
When were you in
Well,
China?
you never
that
heard
story
this story. Wow, that's
When did that happen?
amazing.
Regale us.
Yeah.